What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of Greyman Operation. So today we're going to be talking about holsters, particularly ones from Shinobi Kydex. Guys, before we get into the video, I just want to say I hope you guys are having a nice, safe festive season, relaxing and chilling here at Greyman Operations. We are going to be making videos as per usual every single week. Also, remember, in this video I'm giving away 2,000 bucks to two of my patrons, 1,000 rand each. I'm doing the same thing next weekend. So if you want to get in on that, joining on Patreon is the first link in the video description below if you're watching on YouTube, and it's the first comment if you're watching on Facebook or Instagram. For $5, you basically get in on winning thousands of rands, red dots, holsters, gear, giveaway stuff every single month. But today we are going to be talking about Shinobi Kydex. So those of you who follow my channel, who followed it from the beginning, will remember that the Shinobi Kydex holsters was the first ever video I did on this channel, something like what, 6 or 7 years ago. I did a review of the Shinobi Kydex Katana, the original. And I have to say, I'm very pleased to say they've come quite a long way. In my opinion, at least, having run these holsters for the past, I'd say about 3 months, they are legitimately right up there with what you'd expect from the top holster manufacturers in South Africa. Now, when I look at a holster, it's not just about how well it conceals. I like the ability to be able to get into different positions, because most of the time when you are quote-unquote fighting back, you want to do so from behind cover. And the holsters I'm doing it with here are the Katana 2.0s for my Glock with a Streamlight TLR1HL, and for my Canic with a Surefire X300. These are pretty sizable holsters, and in terms of mobility, there is absolutely no problem. They're actually extremely comfortable. We're going to get on to comfort a bit later on and I'll talk to you about why I think they are so comfortable. Obviously, for me, weapon light capability is extremely important. I pretty much won't ever run a holster exclusively if it can't cater for a weapon light. Yes, there are instances where companies do not make weapon mounted light capable holsters. I will still review those holsters, but I will only really run them in very particular situations where I have to go super low profile. One of the things that I do want to say about Shinobi Kydex that I found kind of odd is their Kydex, to me, seems a bit thicker than Kydex from other holsters I've received. And so what happens is, you know, I'm not saying that thicker means it's going to last longer or not last longer, although you would assume that it would last longer. But what has really happened is when you reholster, it's incredibly satisfying. Those of you who run or've been around Safari Land holsters, they're outside the waistband holsters, you'll know when people reholster or when you reholster, it almost induces like this ASMR kind of effect. It's like this hollowy kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's just incredibly satisfying to reholster one of these, using one of these holsters. And the only reason I can think of is because the thicker Kydex creates a void, I don't know. And so when you reholster, you get this really hollow, clicky sound that's just, it pleases your ears as well as the actual feel of reholstering. And I will tell you, pretty much all of Shinobi Kydex holsters have that feeling, and they all have really good retention. A lot of people don't get great retention, or the retention click, shall I say, on a TLR7A, because it doesn't have any sort of like places where the Kydex can be like molded to make it like click into place. But if you look at the molding on the back of this holster, it's so incredibly sharp, right? And you are able to get that click into place. Now, onto a very important aspect, concealment. From all the angles that matter, regardless of what setup you're running, you get really, really good concealment. I'm going to talk about the reason for that, but from the different types of holsters I've run to where they have full-size weapon lights to compact weapon lights, the concealment is exceptional. And the reason for that is obviously Shinobi Kydex is a really unique claw style. So most other or most standard holsters these days, sort of the industry standard is to have a molded piece of Kydex that is your claw that interfaces with the belt and cams the holster into your body, or it's a much more complicated design, but if you can have a built-in wedge that cams the holster into your body. Those are two Southwest holsters. What Shinobi Kydex have gone for is literally a like 5mm piece thick of aluminium. Okay, and this mounts onto the side of the holster, and the advantage of that is this will never break. Okay, so you've got so much camming capability, but it mounts onto spaces, rubberized spaces, so that when it does cam, it's camming into the rubberized spacer and not into the actual Kydex itself. Now, what's an added benefit is you'll see when you get these suckers, they have like one spacer there and one spacer there. If you want more concealment, you can simply add spacers. Okay, so these spacers, they're readily available at pretty much any hardware store. Just take the one you have off, take it with you and say, can I get a couple of these in a couple of different sizes? And they are like dirt cheap. And then obviously you just get some new screws and posts, which are also super, super cheap. Like guys, pretty much anybody can afford it. And you can then adjust the ride height of the claw almost indefinitely. What you can also do is you'll notice that these claws have two spaces on them with like hex bolts, right? And so what you can actually do is take those spaces out and literally add bigger spaces to them so that the part that cams onto your belt cams even more. So there's kind of like infinite adjustability with this claw. You can obviously also just loosen these screws and then adjust the ride height of the screw up, of the claw up and down. But the level of customization you get from the claw system, it's kind of really not beaten anywhere else. And what else is nice is because they're so far from the clip, you really get the maximum impact of this claw. It's almost like this is a 19X, right? It sits almost like right at the end of the grip. So it cams this part of the grip into your body, which is the part that prints. If you look at the standard 19 with an extended base plate, it's basically right at the edge of the grip, even though I'm carrying a mag well. So it cams the very bottom end of the grip into your body, which is the part that prints. Now, as you know, pretty much all holsters these days are bendy holsters, and what Shinobi Kydex uses is like a piece of leather. Top tip on this piece of leather, guys, when you get it, it will be like a bit tight, but as you run it for a while, it loosens up, and then it just molds to your body wherever or however you seat the holster. What is also cool is you can run these guys as single holsters quite easily. You just take this mag carrier side off. So one holster is capable of being carried in multiple different positions and multiple different configurations. When I did my one reload, one drills or emergency reloads, all my gear was accessible. It wasn't a matter of me digging in my pants for the spare mag. I was able to get the gear, get the spare mag, retrieve it from the mag carrier and reseat the used mag in the case of a tactical reload without any real issues. So guys, those of you who watched my review video of why you should go for a bigger holster over a smaller holster will understand why this holster conceals so well and why it's so comfortable. You've got effectively a larger surface area inside your pants when you're running this holster, so it disperses the pressure points of having this holster in your pants over a larger area. So there's less hot spots, less chafing, less discomfort, even though you are running a bigger holster. What I did notice about Eric over at Shinobi Kydex is they make their full-size weapon light holsters for full-size guns. Okay, so if you do go for a bigger gun, if I went for a Glock 17, it would be able to run in my Glock 19 holster. And then lastly, guys, just another thing I want to talk to you about before we switch the view and give away some cash is This clip here is recess mounted. Okay, it's mounted in like a bit of a recess between the firearm and the mag carrier. So it really helps with the rotation around your body. Other holster guys have the clips mounted on the mag carrier itself. So you'll notice this side clip is a very outward sort of mounted clip. It's mounted right on the front face, whereas the other clip is mounted almost inside of, how can I best show this to you? It's mounted almost inside of a recess. See that? Look where this clip sits and look where that clip sits. So the natural rotation of this holster when you put the belt on is to bring those two clips forward, which is basically to do that. So you don't get a lot of clip printing. A lot of guys have contacted me saying the holster conceals fine, but it's always like this two little clips that stick out as the t-shirt rests against it. So the way the clips are mounted really helps with that problem. Let's switch the view, give away some cash to some of my patrons, and then we'll come back final. Okay guys, so for the third time in December, we're going to be doing a giveaway. As you guys know, we take our list of active patrons and we copy their names. I then paste those names into a name randomizer. This is going to randomize the order of the names and assign a random number. There should be 147 and there is 147. I'm then going to take the numbers that corresponded to the original order of those names, copy those and paste them into our random wheel of names. Paste. Just make sure there are 147 and there's 147. And then I'm going to shuffle them and we have 147 entries. So this first click is for the first 1,000 Rand winner of this week, but the fifth of the month so far. So number 151. Let's see who that is. 131 is going to be Grant Porter. So well done to you, Grant. You are the first winner for this week and the 5th of the month. And our second is number 7. So let's see who number 7 is. All the way at the top. Number 7 is going to be Ben Bettendorf. Ben is actually a friend of mine. He owns an amazing sushi restaurant here in Cape Town. He's one of the main owners or the main guys there. So well done to you, Ben. I will make contact with you guys on Patreon and get get that cash out to you. Remember guys, I'm doing this again next week. So stay tuned for that and join up on Patreon if you want to get in on this. So well done to those patrons. I'll make contact with you on Patreon and get that cash sent over to you. A big well done to the guys at Shinobi Kydex. You know, I really thought that it would be Southwest Holsters forever and no one would compete, which is nice because James is a good friend of mine, but it's also nice that we have some competition for the top guys because that's just good for you and I. I know a very good friend of mine, Adrian, the main guy at Kinetic Solutions, is running one of these holsters with an X300 and an X5 Legion. That's a full-size frame. And he's running it as an EDC, concealing that sucker perfectly in a Shinobi Kydex holster. So that's a testament to the level of concealment. These suckers conceal very, very aggressively. And as I mentioned earlier on, if you're not getting a perfect concealment, you can always adjust the altitude of the claw. So go and give them a check out. Next week, even though it's pretty much New Year's Eve, we will still be putting out the video EDC Never Sleeps. Neither does Greyman Operations. So, and I'm also going to give away another 2,000 Rand next week to 2 of my patrons. So get in on that if you want in on that. That's it, guys. I will see you next week for another video. Have a good week. Be safe. Train hard. Cheers. God bless.